Boys and girls, welcome to SoulFood Coffee House. Is the mic working here? Okay. Okay, we're adjusting it. Now you can't hear me? Can you hear me now? You can hear me now. Barely? Slightly? Okay, well, welcome to SoulFood Coffee House. I'm Michael Dillon Welch. We've been doing this monthly reading for 12 years. And we're very fortunate to have nasty women poets reading for us tonight. They are all contributors to the Nasty Women Poets anthology that was published recently, and we're very fortunate to have them come and read for us tonight. To get us started, I'd like to read a poem of mine for you. As some of you who know me know, I'm passionate about Japanese poetry forms, especially haiku and tanka. And tanka years ago used to be called waka, which means Japanese song, and it's in a pattern of 5-7-5-7-7, so longer than a haiku. And one of the first books I read of Japanese tanka translations was by Jane Hirshfield, called The Ink Dark Moon. And it featured two of Japan's leading poets from around 1,000 years ago. And at that time, women dominated the poetry scene in Japan. It was a woman's world. And it's in that context, after reading hundreds of these poems from that era, from Jane Hirshfield and other sources, that I was inspired to write this poem. And after all this introduction, it will feel anticlimactic, but this is how it goes. Where you live, the maple leaves must now be turning. Oh, that I could write like a woman. And I printed this up in an annual handout, and gave copies out at, there was the Tanka Society of America had a national convention, and I handed this out, and I got a lot of flack for this. They thought it was, they didn't understand it, even though they knew the history of the Japanese tanka poetry especially, and the context of that. I would have thought it would have been better understood. However, you can interpret writing like a woman in many ways. Fight like a girl. Is that a pejorative to some people or not to other people? Is writing like a woman a pejorative? I don't know. But I took a risk with saying that, and even named my trifold after it. And it didn't work. And it didn't matter the gender of the person who was responding, who didn't like it or didn't understand it. But mostly it was women who were kind of uncomfortable with it. And maybe it's because of my gender. So, okay, whatever. It's just a short poem, but it speaks to me of the history of Japanese poetry that I'm familiar with, and the voices that were so strong for hundreds and hundreds of years, predominantly women's voices. And there's a poetic spirit that they, if I can lump them all together, that they have. And obviously, you can't lump them all together around all world cultures. There are voices of various types. But tonight, we are going to hear a particular brand of women's voices. And they're called nasty. And I can tell you for a fact that none of these women are nasty. But they know how to be nasty. And that's what we're here to hear. And Carolyn Wright is going to MC the reading for us tonight instead of me, and I'm very glad that she's going to do these honors. So please welcome Carolyn Wright.
Oops. Thank you, Michael. Way up here. How do I lower this? Is this one of those? Oh, that's better. Yeah, okay. Hopefully it doesn't fall out. Sometimes they fall out of there. Okay, that's good. Yeah, because we are of varying and adjustable heights. Whoa, look. Have you stopped now? Okay. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Are you feeling nasty? Woohoo! Yes. Everybody get nasty now. Well, thanks so much for coming. Thank you so much, Michael, for hosting us. And thank you, fellow readers, for making your way over to SoulFood. Thank you, SoulFood, for hosting this series of readings for these many years. I am so pleased to be able to, show this book, flaunt this book. It's number 4 in the Lost Horse Press Human Rights series. There are 3 others prior to this, and I'm honored to have been involved with all of them. But Nasty Women is the most recent. The editors are Grace Bauer and Julie Kane. I have known Grace Bauer for many years. And, it's falling all the way down. Yeah, there we go. No wonder I kept getting louder and louder. Thank you. It's, oh, well. Oh, and there goes the book. Well, it's a nasty book. It can take it. Okay. I need to prop it, but let's see if I can get it to stand up here. Yeah, that's good. So they had conceived of this anthology. There was that infamous, scurrilous third presidential debate. Was it the third and the final presidential debate, where candidate Hillary Clinton was out there very responsibly and very eloquently and articulately explaining some point having to do with Social Security. Remember Social Security? It's something that you may not have by the time you are old enough for it. But in any case, the other candidate was kind of circling around, snarling at her, and he finally just looked at her and said, "Such a nasty woman." And I remember that and the remark about, "Hey, Russia, come on and hack us." Those were the 2 remarks that stood out for me in those presidential debates. But it was that phrase, nasty women, or nasty woman, that became a meme. And pretty soon there were T-shirts being made that said nasty women. There were hats that said nasty women on them. And then, of course, we thought, well, it's a great phrase. But the editors of the anthology, Grace and Julie, were thinking about putting this anthology together, and that they were going to issue the call for submissions on Election Day, because the thought was that, of course, that nasty woman was probably going to win. Well, of course, we know that she did. But not because of the Electoral College and the gerrymandering, and okay, that's enough politics from me. But yeah, so they were so shocked and horrified after the results of that so-called election that they were going to drop the whole project. But Christine Holbert, founding editor, publisher, book designer extraordinaire of Lost Horse Press, urged them to continue. And so the call for submissions went out the next day, November 9th, with the submission close day, the deadline of the inauguration day, January 20th, 2017. So that's how the anthology came about. And as you remember, the day after that inauguration, everybody, many of us went out marching, and those who had the pussy hats, the bright pink hats with the little ears, went out and marched, and again this year. So this is a collection of poems by women who are nasty in many different fronts, many different areas of home space, workspace, freeway space, airport security space, Facebook, email, internet, wherever. And so we have here 4 readers total tonight. I'm going to read people's bios in order, and then people are going to read in the order of alphabetical, as we have the English alphabet. There are many other alphabets, but we're focusing on the one in English. Jennifer Bullis, who has driven down from Bellingham, which is a particularly nasty thing to do. Sometimes traffic is not very kind or helpful. But she is the author of Impossible Lessons from Moonpath Press, and there are copies of it here for sale. Hold it up. As there are copies of Nasty Women and a few other books by contributors. Jennifer has had poems and essays appear in other journals like Gulf Coast, Tinderbox, Waterstone Review, Terrain.org, and Tahoma. Is that Tahoma Literary Review? Yes, Tahoma. That's a great magazine. And she has another manuscript called Wild Caught Gods, and which was a finalist for the Moon City Poetry Press, or Poetry Prize. She earned her degree, her PhD in English at UC Davis, and taught at Whatcom Community College for 14 years. And let's see, the nasty little fact about Jennifer, which I am going to invent at this moment, is that she drove down here at 95 miles an hour the whole way. And the state patrol just looked at her and said, hey, off you go. Okay, so that's Jennifer. Sarah Jones is a poet who is living near Seattle. She's living so near Seattle, she's almost in Seattle. She is of Seattle but not in it, or something like that. And this microphone keeps, there we go. Okay, it'll stay there for another minute. Sarah started her MFA in the Northwest Institute of Literary Arts low residency MFA program, and completed it in the Antioch University MFA program. And there's a whole story behind that. It is particularly nasty how that the MFA program on Whidbey Island closed down after 11 wonderful years. But that's a whole other story. Sarah has been an editorial intern for CNR Press and the media specialist, the media, what would you say, the media guru for Poetry Northwest. So Poetry Northwest, as you know, is a very long-time literary magazine here in the Pacific Northwest. She has had poems in a number of magazines: Entropy, The Normal School, New Ohio Review, Raven Chronicles, City Arts, Yes, and Poetry. Oh, Yes, Poetry, right, and many other places. And a chapbook forthcoming from Dancing Girl Press is called Lies I Tell Myself. And I think one of those lies is particularly nasty, that she once picked up a family friend and threw that person through a window. It was the defenestration of Ventura or something like that. I just invented that, right? Got to get nasty. Okay, and our next reader is Heidi Seaborn, who started writing only 2 years ago, although she was sneakily and shall we say surreptitiously, covertly writing as a communications executive for many years. And you know, when you're a communications executive, you got to communicate. Of course, you have to use a lot of abstractions and say things like, the process shall be implemented by our crack implementation team within the time frame of the next month going forward, or something like that. You know, that sort of baffle gab that you have to use when you're writing kind of commercial prose. And I know a little bit about that because I've done a bit of it. But in the 2 years since she really started writing poetry and focusing on poetry, she's published in over 50 journals and anthologies, and has a chapbook, Finding My Way Home, which is coming out in March from Finishing Line Press. And the nasty truth that I'm going to reveal right here is that she is considering making a move over to the dark side of poetry, which is MFA programs in creative writing with a focus on poetry. Woohoo! And then there's one other reader. She's sometimes called Carolyn Wright. But Carolyn Wright has become, shall we say, kind of a front person for Eulene. Eulene used to be the alter ego, but now Eulene is the true entity and Carolyn is simply a holographic projection. But the poet formerly known as Carolyn Wright has a new book called This Dream the World, New and Selected Poems from Lost Horse Press. And the title poem received a Pushcart Prize and was also in Best American Poetry. Oh, yeah, you can hold that up. Wave it around there. It's still enclosed in its shrink-wrap plastic. And her anthology, the anthology that she edited, also from Lost Horse Press, the third in the Human Rights series, Raising Lily Ledbetter, Women Poets Occupy the Workspace. And the woman on the cover of that anthology is a nasty woman, but she is not the one you think. That is the actual Lily Ledbetter herself, who had a wonderfully nasty career at Goodyear Tire, and she got run over by Goodyear any number of times. They made tracks all over her career, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, Carolyn Wright teaches for Richard Hugo House and for literary conferences and events and things around the Seattle area and elsewhere. So that's enough. I think we are going to invite our first reader up, who is Jennifer Bullis. All right. Very good. And we'll see about doing something with this microphone. Wow.
Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. Well, hi. Thank you. Carolyn, thanks for the great introduction. And Michael, thanks for having us here to read tonight. And thank you to SoulFood Books for providing this wonderful venue. And thanks to all of you for being here. We hope to make it worth your while with some nastiness. As I was putting together poems to read tonight, I had a question that was sort of preoccupying me, and that guided the poems that I selected to bring. And that question was, all right, in the wake of the 2016 election, and in light of our cultural fracturing, which seems to be getting even more fractured as time goes on, and in the light of violence, such as the violence that we're overwhelmed with from the events in Florida yesterday and elsewhere all the time, what do we do with our emotions of anger and fear? How do we experience them, and what uses can we make of those emotions as we process them in this place and time where we live? And so the poems that I selected tonight all are partial responses to that question. What do we do with our anger and our fear? So I'm going to start with a poem from my chapbook, Impossible Lessons, that gets at this, and it's an invocation of the muse by way of beginning. Awaiting the muse. The wind has changed direction, and from land, the bay looks angry about something. Listen, the wind is imposing secrets on the whitecaps. The cedars hum and the maple leaves crack. Try, and you can see the firs arrowing up from the little island inhabited only by ancestors. This north wind dries and tugs like a local moon, forbidding stasis. Like the fact of the ocean, there always with its lifting and pulling down, its constant sounds, its vastness, a source and a cold threat. What buoyant thing can save me? What offers warmth but the small songs invented from my fear? And moving to the Nasty Women Poets Anthology, I want to read you a poem from West Seattle poet Susan Rich, In Praise of Anger. In Praise of Anger by Susan Rich. It has taken so long to find you, years of squirreling your shadow back under the bed. And now you are here beside me, no longer denied. I spit, snarl, state my case, and the roof does not fly off. The cellar door remains well hinged. My anger breaks into prisms, focuses like a starlight scope on a blue summer night. Suddenly, I throw the oak tree at you with ease, flip each ex-lover, the entire neighborhood, the man next door who shoots the sunrise, the tree cutter, the cat killer. I take my anger out of the box and tap it like a prayer wheel, run its messages along the rim of the world without regret, love it like a child's spinning top. I love the glistening pure gem of anger that poem is. Let's see. That's in the talking back section. The anthology is divided into many different thematic sections. I'll read you my poem, which is in the myths and legends section. It's a persona poem written in the voice of the Roman goddess Diana, goddess of the hunt, also known as Artemis in the Greek pantheon. And Diana, as a goddess, had many other job descriptions too. For example, she was also guardian of women in childbirth and protector of virgins. Diana bristles. Sister, I am the other girl in your dream, about your classroom or lab or news studio gone grim. Tonight's lesson or scene is how the powerful, charismatic man turns creep. He intends to make you unlearn yourself. He intends to infect you with his undead blood. He will reach for your ankle as you scoot uphill. He will nip at your collar if you depart from his script. He wants what he wants, and he wants you to bleed. Remember, I am a power belonging to you. Remember when you notice you're forgetting to breathe. I will dog him. I will tree him. I will smash his predator teeth. The next poem I want to read is of a different sort of response. What do we do with anger and fear? Well, we can also take direct action. I was delighted to be in Seattle both this year and last for the Women's March, and I wanted my 12-year-old son to be able to be with me, and he couldn't. The reason we were in Seattle instead of Bellingham was that he was participating in a Lego robotics competition for the whole day, but a lot of us parents managed to sneak out and catch part of the march that was closest to Amazon Tower. But I took a lot of video of the march, and my son was fascinated to watch it. It was important to me to have him experience it as close up as he could to understand what direct nonviolent action can look like. And the atmosphere of the Women's March was one that included a lot of children and was really an exemplar of nonviolent direct action at work. Of course, the anthology's cover photo is of the DC Women's March from last year, and there's a lot of very powerful images available of that. This poem is titled Landscape with Pink Hats. You are a diagnosis and pill, a globe and its mountain, a mountain and its pine, a tide and a current, a river with ears. I step to your bank. It's a law. Energy passing through a system reorders the system around the path of the energy. I was a bereft lefty crying in my Prius. Now I'm hybrid, a curve with a point. A woman is always more than the sum of her body parts. Did I say weapon? River, you've sprouted a claw. The next poem I want to read is a new poem that I've written in the last several months. It bounces off of a poem by W.B. Yeats titled Leda and the Swan, and that's the poem in which Yeats is asking questions implicitly. What happened to Leda after Zeus, in the form of a swan, decided to snatch her up off the ground and rape her and impregnate her? The repercussions were many, so I delve into some classics to sort of trace this theme. But the last two lines of Yeats's poem are a set of very interesting questions. Did she put on his knowledge with his power before the indifferent beak could let her drop? So think of this poem as taking place in the time between when the beak of Zeus the swan lets go of Leda and the time she hits the ground. Political science. The river god Cephasus raped Liriope and begat Narcissus. Zeus raped Leto and begat Artemis and Apollo, tricked Alcmene and begat Hercules. Zeus raped Leda and begat Helen and Pollux, perhaps Clytemnestra and Castor. Seems every demigod and hero is product of a rape. Makes me want to hurl a thunderbolt at the sky. So many artists prettied up those violations by portraying the victims as consenting. Some painters depict Leda cuddling Swan Zeus in her lap like a soft pet, with whom the sexual contact might as well have been an afterthought or accident. Others take it so far as to show her legs and arms wrapped around him, her head thrown back in a pantomime of bliss. When it's portrayed so beguilingly, who wouldn't want to get wrecked by a god? Unless, like Ganymede, you didn't. The teenage prince, male parallel to Leda, was abducted to Olympus by Eagle Zeus to be the deity's boy toy and cupbearer, slavery sexual and domestic. Artists don't picture his rape as happy. Or Cassandra's, which, along with Leda's, catalyzed the other tragedies of the Trojan War. Sworn to celibacy as priestess of Apollo, Cassandra rejected the advances of the god himself. To persuade her, he offered prophecy as a gift. She reluctantly accepted, but then changed her mind, so Apollo let her keep the gift, but added the curse that she would never be believed. That's what you get, apparently, for leading on a god or denying him what he wants. Hello? Yes, there. That's that. Did I turn it off? Now are we working? How about now? I don't see a switch on it. Okay, I'll talk loud. Trying again. Okay.
that on? Can you hear me? All right. I do tend to get a little loud anyway, but thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Sarah Jones. I'm going to be reading a few of my own poems and then some from the anthology. I'm not going to read this one because I don't really like it, and I don't want to be up here very long. So right now I'm working on a new book. It's a book of persona poems. Yulene, Carolyn's alter ego, is very good friends with my alter ego, Alice. And Alice has her own book of poems that I'm working on right now. And Alice was inspired by a woman who is known to be the ghost of the Rosario Hotel, a resort in Orcas Island. There's a wonderful video about her. She's called The Lady in Red. I'll read you a poem that was inspired by her life. Alice leaves a young sailor in her bed to go play poker on the porch of Templeton's General Store. I wake with bourbon crusted between my gums and teeth, a brown glow coming through my curtains. It's 12:37 p.m. A boy's hand as heavy as the ring on my finger rests between my bare shoulders. I skirt it like my husband's toupee, watch it flap, flap, white bed sheets. The crux of this boy's arm is caught between polished muscles. I want to unfold this space and kiss it again. Instead, I breakfast a cigarette, shimmy back into red and flimsy, and robe up with black and boa. Island boys play 5-card stud on a porch without me. So before I snuff out this sailor scene to light up a local one, let me pull the curtains back. Let soft light expose my skin, and these stockings look too black. Fur too animal along my breasts, eyes too much like typhoons. This house only feels lonely when you're in it. Another Alice poem. Alice's first sex. She always knew how a thing would rise under the heat of her hand, this kneading so innate to the ticking inside. How she'd assist with starless and steady eyes, her palms knowing to push the pulp of a man's chest down. The 2 words her lips would steep into the cup of a man's ear. How to push through that pop of pain until all that throbbed was extinguished in a singular groan. And how she'd rise like a wild cat to shake out and smooth her hair. Turning to nasty women poets. God, these are all so good. Let's see here. I'm going to read a poem by Erin Murphy. Does this poem make my butt look too big? Maybe these words are too loose, dimply, and jiggling like cellulite, like my friend's hind parts that can't keep up with a girl's bird legs. Maybe these words need a girdle, some wonder garment squeezing everything in its place, form-fitting and corset tight, as a quatrain, something invented and for a man. This is by Estela Gonzalez. Vaginas on the loose. Good to know that people are still afraid of wild vaginas, especially young, hairy ones. The kind that aren't splayed open like those sharks hung from grappling hooks, fat fishermen beside them smiling. Porno pimps like them tame, shaved, pinned open by manicured fingers with long, hot pink acrylic nails, just like Jesus, like them crucified with a big hairy cock or dildo nailing them down. An old vagina on the loose, gray hairs blowing in the wind, wrinkled lips roaring, not as slick as the young ones, but still toothy, still waiting. Lying in the sun, teeth glowing, roaring, hungry, they will eat you if you let them. And I'll read you the last poem I'm going to read is from my chapbook that's coming out in April. It's the title poem for the book, Lies I Tell Myself. I'll rise Sylvia Plath early and work this manuscript. I'll untoggle from social media, no Instagram before noon or Facebook after 8 p.m. I won't skip the gym, I'll skip the sugar. I won't eat all this bacon, nor will I drink another French red blend all by myself. I'll drink green tea on the patio twice a day. I won't sext while my kids play Call of Duty in the other room. I'll keep my shirt on during the Skype call. No more editors or poets nosing into places more than poetry. I'll go slow. Watch my skin crinkle with joy, unbotoxed. I won't glass slipper love or tarot card our future again. I'll be a Buddhist nun, toss this vibrator out for good. I'll be productive, proactive, and more political, a knower though it might seem fun to the sex greet, a yeser to yoga. I'll be a bird of paradise, long stalked with flaming hair, and hardy against the heat of another's body. I'll call my father and say, I'm balanced on the one leg you left me standing on. Thank you.
Sarah and I wore our bitch boots. Okay, I'm Heidi Seaborn. I'm going to start out with a few wonderfuls from the Nasty Anthology. This one is by Catherine Koffel, and she's a Wisconsin poet, and she has a whole bunch of chapbooks. She's got a collection. She's got a CD, and she says in her bio that she has no restraining order yet. What happens when Dad tells Mom to sell her car? She changes her name to Josie, lights a slim 100, lets the top down, pitches the for sale sign he stuck in the window after he proposed, pitches her pantyhose like a bridal bouquet on the way out of town. She drives this creamy, leggy, black-haired Italian beauty in her lemon yellow convertible and red polish. She keeps driving past the Ben Franklin, the post office, St. Anne's Catholic Church. She doesn't stop, doesn't even cool the engine when she pauses for gas. Paydays, more cigarettes, a pair of rhinestone-studded cat eyes, and a leopard print scarf. She doesn't stop until she hits the ocean, the Statue of Liberty. She finds a studio in the village with an ex-stripper turned lounge singer named Shirley, who needs an angle, and Mom is it, the vixen and the virgin, the sinner and the saint. So Mom sells her car to buy a warped upright. She knows all those show tunes by heart, and they make wispy music together. Two dames knocking out, someone to watch over me. What kind of fool am I? Shirley and Josie pack the house. They make men growl. They make men shift in their tight polyester leisure suits. These men, they want to take Mom home, smooth out her hair, buy her nice things, give her the life she deserves, give her the life only a fool would refuse. So long, Daddy. Okay. And this is Susan Erickson, who's a terrific poet from Bellingham as well, and has this great book out called Lauren Bacall Shares a Limo. I urge you to read it. This is her contribution. It's called Call Me a Bitch. This is not in the nature of a dare, but an earnest prayer. I'm long past being nice girl, sweetheart, perennial princess, homecoming queen, a trophy wife. It is now my earnest prayer, as I said before, to be known as a bitch, a bad girl, wild woman, woman who runs with wolves, a virago, derived from words like virtue, virile, virtuosa, meaning a large, strong, courageous woman. So yes, call me bitch. Call me every name in the book. This book is full of them. Okay. So I, too, have written in a persona recently. My persona is called the Diva. I'm going to have fun. There's a bunch of these, and they're really short, and hopefully they're fun. So, but to get us in the mood, I'm going to read a quote from Diana Ross. It takes a long time to get to be a diva. I mean, you got to work at it. Okay. The diva sings for her supper. The diva coughs, clears her throat of the butterflies wanting to wing into her words. She must sing for her supper that lies untouched, the dish cold, duck confit congealed, asparagus green, limber as grass. Still she must sing for the driver, gardener, handyman, her assistants, of course for Aurelia and the children, Jose, Rosa, oh, and for her own children, their father, his mother. This song is for them, lifting to a high sea, holding, holding, holding. So the diva has a lot of people that she needs to be responsible for. And so she has to go off to her big job. And she spends a lot of time in her job maneuvering the men above her around. This poem is about one of those. It's called The Diva and Mr. Big. The diva is buying shoes. Gucci, black, patent, leather, 5-inch fuck you pumps. For her meeting with Mr. Big. Mr. Big is British and will kiss her on each cheek, smack, smack, in greeting. Mr. Big is not big. He is small. Robert Reich small. Napoleon small. Smaller than Robert Redford in real life small. The diva knows that Mr. Big will rock up on his tiptoes to reach his lips to her cheek, fall short, kiss the curve of her jawbone. All meeting, the diva will loom larger than life. The room will sway her way, Mr. Big sinking lower in his chair. She will not rise to his goodbye. She will take his kisses, seated like a girl. So, the diva has a family, and this is how she manages to have children. She has some help, and it's not really from a husband. This is called the diva's assistants. The diva's got 2 assistants, one for personal, one for business. One to keep an eye on the other, one to wonder what she is up to. One day, assistant 1 calls in sick. She is sick of working for this diva, she says to assistant 2. Assistant 2 is sick of working for 1, so she becomes 1 just like that. One night, middle of the night, stormy middle of the night, the diva calls her assistant at home, wakes her to say, "Come to my house now. Kid 2 is coming now. Right now. I need you to watch Kid 1. The assistant, now 1, wonders if she will one day watch Kid 1 or 2 grow up, become a diva too. So this is another motherhood poem. The diva misses a period. This is for all of us working moms. The diva misses a period. The diva's in London when her daughter gets her first period. Oxford Street, streaked with rain, umbrella in one hand, phone tucked beneath her chin. The diva hears her daughter whisper the news. How she left school embarrassed, how she walked home, how she can't tell dad, how she doesn't know what to do. The diva murmurs advice as her gaze falls short of the corner crossing, smudges pavement, blurs her daughter becoming. The diva dreams of a superhero. Why should the diva be different? She too dreams of being swept off her stiletto heels in a whoosh of superhero, cape and all, especially after a long diva day when she returns home to find no dinner or even beds made, laundry and homework waiting. Yes, even the diva has those days. And it is then that she dreams of a superhero in red tights and boots, muscles rippling. She does not dream of hired help or one of those helpful husbands. The diva dreams big, big, broad shoulders and a chest stretching from coast to coast that she falls into as he wraps his powerful arms around her and flies away, just away. The diva's smile. Even the morning after her then husband's DUI, after getting his sorry ass out of jail, she flashed her bleached beauties in greeting to the board. Even after her house is robbed, all her jewelry, her diamonds, her sapphires, rubies, gold, piles of it, all gone, she smiled pearls to the girls in the office. The diva rolls with it, rolls her thin shoulders, whips her thick mane, flicks her nails and smiles. The diva knows to swallow the catch in her throat, knows to pick her moment, spit out the bones and grin. Yeah, because nasty women are kind of tough, too. I'll just do a couple more. Are these okay? We're rolling with the diva? The diva's rolling? Okay. So there's, this is a chapbook that I just wrote these and I just put them together. But in it are 3 poems that were written in a slightly different voice that I've now adjusted for the diva. And they're about the diva dining with other divas. So this is The Diva Dines. They were actually written during a class I took with Carolyn. The Diva Dines with Barbara Streisand. Barbara's barefoot in the kitchen, inspecting hamachi rolls on the caterer's tray. The hostess starts to introduce the diva to Barbara, then steers her out of the kitchen and away from Barbara's food rant. Later, Barbara will train her ice blue eyes down her famous nose at the diva in greeting, then turn and drop her small body to the floor, sit cross-legged, back turned to all, facing the television. When Clinton's introduced, Barbara shouts, "Yes!" fist raised. Her thumbnails glint like lighters at a concert. She rides out the debate curled in a muttering knot. Clinton survives, his pale blue eyes seducing a nation once again. A decade later, over another dinner, the diva will gaze into those now lidded glacial eyes and tell Bill Clinton this story as his hand stretches beneath the table to graze her knee. Okay. The diva lands a superhero. The diva's long, twisted search for her superhero ends at a Cinco de Mayo party. Perhaps the tequilas made the diva especially ravishing to this understated superhero. They flirt over chips and salsa. She gives him her numero. He calls. She falls. He falls in love. He is her Clark Kent, mild-mannered, steady Eddie, counterpoint to the diva. Yet she knows over flesh and under khakis, he sports a pair of red tights. To unbutton his shirt is to reveal a red S emblazoned across his chest, guarding his perfect heart. The diva uses her superpowers to seal the deal. So the diva retires and decides to start up a new career. So it'll be the last one I read. It's called The Poet Diva. The diva retires to write a memoir, perhaps a novel. Bored with her own story and finding novel writing hard, the diva tries the short story. Even that's too much. The poem, it's perfect. Short, a few words. She can do that. Who couldn't? And thus, the poet diva is born. While she drinks her morning latte, she writes poems, reads them aloud in that breathy poet voice she's heard on NPR. The diva does nothing halfway. Soon she's published a poem, a dozen, then surprise, a book. The diva's not surprised. She's expected as much. Thank you.
You mean, Yulene? Whoa! I need them Mitch boots. Thank you. Yeah, I have to. What I don't have in the height, I have to make up with the hats. So, I read somewhere don't give readings with hats on unless you're Carolyn Wright. But I'm now Yulene, so anything goes. Okay, I'm going to start with a couple of the Nasty Women poems. I have been known to commit poems in form. You know, like I've committed some Sistinas and Villanelles and Pantoums and things. So I'm going to read a couple of those. This is a Villanelle by a poet named Marilyn L. Taylor. And her poem is called How Aunt Eudora Became a Postmodern Poet. A girl is not supposed to write that way, the teachers told her in the 7th grade. You ought to find more proper things to say. For instance, there's no reason to portray your daddy sucking gin like lemonade. Young girls are not supposed to write that way. And we don't care to read an expose on how your mama gets the grocer paid. There ought to be more proper things to say. Why not write about a nice bouquet of flowers or a waterfall instead? You cannot be allowed to write the way you did, for instance, when your Uncle Ray was entertaining strangers in his bed. And what the country sheriff had to say. Why put such vulgar passions on display? You're going to regret it, I'm afraid. Remember, you're a girl, so write that way. Go find yourself some proper things to say. Okay, so let's hear a few proper things here. And since we've been talking about a few other political women, I'm going to go to another form called a pantoum. And this pantoum was committed by Jules Nyquist. And it is dedicated to Hillary Rodham Clinton, Janet Reno, Mabel Dodge Lujan, who's a favorite of ours. She was a patroness of the arts, basically matronized D.H. Lawrence and Frida Lawrence and a number of those Southwest artists. And her name was Mabel Dodge. You've also heard of the Geraldine R. Dodge Poetry Festival, where all those NPR poets read. I think Geraldine was her sister. Anyway, part of the same Dodge family. So, yeah. And Lujan was her crazy husband, who was he was quite a character. Anyway, and it's also dedicated to Georgia O'Keeffe, Erica Jong, Joan Baez, Victoria Woodhull, and Gloria Steinem. And so all of these women will figure in this Nasty Woman pantoum. I suppose I could have stayed at home, baked cookies, hosted teas, but I've been labeled a nasty woman. If I was elected, I would have slept with an ex-president. The first dude would have played sax full time. I am a nasty woman, Janet Reno's mother wrestled alligators. The first dude would have played sax full time. Georgia said if I painted that mountain long enough, I would own it. Janet Reno's mother wrestled alligators. My life broke in two right there, Mabel. Georgia said if I painted that mountain long enough, I would own it. I am proud to wear pantsuits. My life broke in two, Mabel. I am fearless of the far side of 50, Erica. I am proud to wear pantsuits with zippers. Flying first class without fear. I'll escape to an island. I've had enough. I am fearless, long past the far side of 50. Joan didn't sleep with any man who had a draft card. Flying first class without fear, I will continue to work with children. I could have been your Madam President. Victoria Woodhull was counting on me. Joan didn't sleep with any man who had a draft card. A woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. I could have been your Madam President. Victoria Woodhull was counting on me. I would have kept abortion legal, honey. If men could get pregnant, it would be a sacrament. A woman without a man is like a fish without a bicycle. I wasn't elected, but I can still sleep with that ex-president. I would have kept abortion legal, honey. If men could get pregnant, it would be a sacrament. I suppose I could have stayed home, baked cookies, hosted teas. So, all right, let's do a little something here. This is a fun one, and I suppose Yulene would do a striptease while she is going through this one. But, well, let's just see, because we've all taken airplane flights, and we've all had to go through airport security. And what do you do with this when you go through airport security? You either drink the whole thing and then you're standing on line for an hour having to find the nearest restroom, which is on the airplane, or you chuck it, or something, or you pour it out on the floor or the nearest drinking fountain. But this lady goes through airport security, and it is a woman named Elizabeth Lara. And here is her poem, Airport Security. Ancient Granny drags her bag, gasping, wheezing, towards the gate. Security will let her wear her shoes. She throttles and snorts, flings her purple pocketbook onto the belt, slings her steel-plated bangle beads into the bin. From her carry-on, she pulls out a can of Lysol spray, her Chinese star and brass knuckles, her newly sharpened meat cleaver. She reaches into her cleavage, gasps, extracts an ice pick. The TSA officers are trying to speak, but she isn't finished yet, drops her winter coat and furry ski vest onto the bin, unbuckles her color-coordinated crocodile leather belt. Behind her, a crowd is building up. The TSA is sending for reinforcements. She pulls off her turtleneck. The sleeves gesture skyward. She drops her purple skirt to the floor, pirouettes in her purple Playtex ultimate lift and Bali one smooth U brief. Yee-haw! She flips the Chinese star into the machinery. The crowd divides into pros and cons. When she picks up the meat cleaver, they scatter. She offers the agents a swig from her 3-ounce bottle of Smirnoffs. On the other side of the metal detector, a TSA 20-something is staring at her large brass navel ring. The alarm bleats. She rasps, "Put me down, Sonny, put me down." So that's the granny from hell that I want to be one of these days. All right. Grannies from hell. All right. Okay. But before that, you got to go through Yulene. So here is The Confessions of Yulene. And this is, what's her name? Carolyn Wright. Carolyn Wright's contribution to this here very pink volume. The Confessions of Yulene. I eat too many Twinkies. I ask God to make me virtuous, but just not yet. I pick tater tots off other people's plates. I order 40 large pizzas for the house where my old boyfriend lives with that new babe of his, and I use his credit card number. I go through my new boyfriend's wallet looking for photos of his old girlfriends. I get most of my ideas off the internet. I steal the rest of my ideas from the renegade saints with names like Augustine and Aloysius and Simon Stylites, who spent years standing on pillars in the deserts of Iraq. I stock my bathroom with toilet tissue swiped from fast food restaurant dispensers. I swear on Epimenides Perplex, whatever that is. I take naps anytime, especially when stuck in rush hour traffic. I'm a Capricorn with Kundalini rising. I make videos of myself on YouTube dressed entirely in marshmallow paste and little pink squiggles of birthday cake icing. In high school, I snuck out with all the punk poets in my homeroom and flamingoed the vice principal's front yard. Now I'm casing the lawn of the college president's McMansion. I raise my grade point average like a hot air balloon. I tell only lies in my confessions. Okay, that's Yulene. All right. Now, do we have time for one more, maybe? One more. Let's see. What would you like? Would you like a Nasty Woman poem from Nasty Workspaces? Or would you like to hear Yulene do something else in here? Maybe she could be a success bomb. Or she could be having her shit job. Or shit job. All right, shit job. That's what it really is. You divas, you know about shit jobs, right? Okay. This is by the poet Arlisha Jones, who lives in Alaska, and whose family actually has a family butcher shop. And not only do they I think they do all the processing of the meat right there. So this is Shit Job by Arlisha Jones. The machine sucks and blows in and out like a yes man courting money. And all day you catch what falls out the other end. Meat, cryovac in shiny plastic pouches, you separate out and stack on racks. The bright red roasts and beef steaks, the chops and chops, the chops, the chops, all day. This. And the warning sign, amputation danger, above the hydraulic knife that slices the film. You read it 1,000 times every day, each time your hand knocks against the plastic guard protecting it. Read again and make of it what you can. Great damnation. Dang, a permutation. Tampon and guitar, or pure man attain God. And even no damn pig treat. Those are all, I think, acronyms? No, what is it? Various scramblings of the letters. Otherwise, you'd go nuts and, God forbid, tell the boss to fuck himself when the sarcastic son of a bitch sidles up real friendly like one of the boys when you enter the dark of the freezer. He catches the smirk on your face. Mutant dog! Amputate gonad! Go eat an armpit! Anything to keep from hearing when he leans into your ear to remind you, I'd get a monkey to do your job if I could just keep it from shitting on the floor. Woo! I think I should do one more. Okay, one more. We'll stay here and we will read Oh no, let's not read another day. Let's not read Another Day at the Dildo Factory. That's for another day. But if you want to see it, there are copies. This is by Leslie Newman, and it's called Adjustment 1, Shifting Piles. And of course, this is a poem with some of the technology is from an earlier era. Remember typewriters and carbon copies and, paper copies of documents and file folders. Adjustment 1, Shifting Piles. I place a pile of credits to my left and a pile of debits to my right. After I type the numbers from the debits onto the credits, I pile the debits on top of the credits. Then I pull the carbons from the credits and separate the copies into piles. I interfile the piles and bring them over to the files where I file the piles and pull the files, making a new file of piles. Then I make files for the pile that had no files and put them into a new file pile. I take the new file pile down the aisle over to the table where Mabel makes labels for April to staple. I take the new labeled stapled file pile back down the aisle over to the file to be interfiled with the pile of filed files. After I file April's piles, I get new debits from Debbie and new credits from Carrie. I carry Carrie's and Debbie's debits back to my desk and place a pile of credits to my left and a pile of debits to my right. After I type the numbers from the debits onto the credits, it's 10 o'clock. And we have exactly 15 minutes to go down to the cafeteria and drink coffee or go out into the parking lot and scream. Thank you. And keep on being nasty. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, SoulFood. All right.
Well, that was nasty. If I may, I'd like to add to the chorus by reading one of my favorite nasty women poems. And it was from Rattle magazine, and it's by Francisca Bell. And in looking this up on the internet, I had to add penis to my search history. It's called, I Long to Hold the Poetry Editor's Penis in My Hand. And tell him personally, I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to pass on this. Though your piece held my attention through the first few screenings, I didn't feel it is a good fit for me at this time. Please know it received my careful consideration. I thank you for allowing me to have a look. And I wish you the very best of luck placing it elsewhere. We will have a break now. Thank you all to our nasty poets for sharing your work. If you'd like to sign up for open mic reading, the sign-up sheet is over on that table, and it includes a question of the month, which is, what is your nastiest habit that you'll confess to us anyway? So please sign up for that if you like. Buy something. We're very fortunate to have SoulFood hosting us. Check out the books our readers have for sale, and we'll get going again in a few minutes. And rock on, nasty poets. Okay, it's time to get started again. Are we having fun? Okay, good. Let's have some more. We have a nice set of readers signed up for our open mic. Nasty women and a few nasty men joining in. Before that, I wanted to let you know about two events, well, at least two events coming up. On a week from tomorrow, February 23, we're featuring Raina Priest at the Redmond Association of Spoken Word over at Vala Arts Center. So she's from Bellingham, yeah. So, okay, so she's featured a week from tomorrow over at the Redmond Association of Spoken Word at Vala Arts Center. So please come for that. And there's an open mic as well. And that's not just poetry. So if you have some short fiction, there's room for that as well. And other creative spoken word, however you want to interpret that. And then coming up here next month, we have something that's going to include food. And that is Lana Ayer's Moonpath Press has published an anthology devoted to the subject of ice cream. And we have 10 readers slated to come and read for that. So half the audience will be readers. I think we can arrange to have some ice cream for everyone, too. So that's the plan. So come for the poetry and stay for the ice cream, or the other way around if you insist. So expected to read next month are Anita Boyle, Nancy Canyon, John Davis, Patty Kinney, Tom Schramm, Harvey Schwartz, Heidi Seaborn, Marianne Talley, and Julene Tripp-Weaver, and I have a poem in the anthology too, so I'll read that. So please come back next month. That's on March 15 right here on this stage. And our usual open mic and our unusual ice cream. And I have a feeling the question of the month next month might just be, what's your favorite kind of ice cream? We'll see. All right. We are ready to start with our open mic. But before that, I want to shift gears a little bit with a poem by Jane Hirschfield. Is she a nasty poet? Not. There you go. That's how she's unafraid to say what she wants to say. And that works for me. This is yesterday was a terrible tragedy in Florida, but it was also Valentine's Day. And it's Valentine's Day that prompted me to choose this poem by Jane Hirschfield to share with you. It's called For What Binds Us. There are names for what binds us: strong forces, weak forces. Look around. You can see them. It's the skin that forms in a half-empty cup, nails rusting into the places they join. Joints dovetailed on their own weight. The way things stay so solidly wherever they've been set down. And gravity, scientists say, is weak. And see how the flesh grows back across a wound with a great vehemence, more strong than the simple, untested surface before. There's a name for it on horses, when it comes back darker and raised. Proud flesh. As all flesh is proud of its wounds, wears them as honors give out after battle, small triumphs pinned to the chest. And when two people have loved each other, see how it is like a scar between their bodies, stronger, darker, and proud. How the black cord makes of them a single fabric that nothing can tear or mend. That is Jane Hirschfield. Okay, our first reader tonight is Marco Cody, and our question of the month is, what is your nastiest habit that you will reveal? He says he's obsessed with hockey fight videos. Marco Cody.
Yeah, I'm obsessed about everything hockey. So I think everyone in the room can relate that at certain times we'll hear a poem that will resonate with us for a particular stage of our life or experience we're having. And I had that experience a few months ago at a RASP meeting where the featured speaker shared some poems. And this is by Raymond Carver. And I'm going through a stage, or I guess a season in my life, where I'm very attuned to the fragility of life and how important every day is, and how important it is to me personally now to make sure I'm living every single day fully. And this is a poem that he wrote that I believe is on his tombstone, and it was based on some true events. And this is called Gravy. No other word will do, for that's what it was. Gravy. Gravy these past 10 years. Alive, sober, working, loving, and being loved by a good woman. 11 years ago, he was told he had 6 months to live at the rate he was going. And he was going nowhere but down. So, he changed his ways somehow. He quit drinking, and the rest. And after that, it was all gravy, every minute of it, up to and including when he was told about, well, some things that were breaking down and building up inside his head. Don't weep for me, he told his friends. I'm a lucky man. I've had 10 years longer than anyone expected. Pure gravy, and don't forget it. Thank you.
Thank you, Marco. Next up, we have Ken Osborne, and his nastiest habit is poetry.
Which means either I write very nasty poetry or I have very nice habits. Make your mind up. I'm going to read you 2 poems. The first one's very, very short. I was going to read something very serious tonight, and then I listened to you lot. So I've changed my mind. Identical twins. Given the choice of identical twins, why would I choose one over the other? When her sister was more promiscuous, more daring in the cinema's back row. Perhaps my heart held too much sway, my body parts too little. Would I make a different choice today? And this one. This is totally meaningless. You have to put the meaning in. Driven. She rode a motorbike. He drove a car. They knew from the beginning they might go too far. She stroked his plush upholstery. He touched her hot exhaust. He said, "Let's cruise a little." She said, "I won't be forced." She said, "I'm running hot." He said, "I'm running fast." He pushed the pedal. She twisted out a blast. He said, 0 to 60 in 6 seconds clear. She said, 0 to 60 without changing gear. She opened up the throttle. He stamped on the gas. Head to head, they hurtled through the underpass. They jumped the stoplight, hit the freeway tightly wired, raced as far as they could go, till they were getting tired. Pulled off the highway into a quiet mall, parked up in the shadows by a greasy knoll. He stretched across the hood. She straddled the tank. He rattled his pushrod. She spun her crank. He loosened his belt. She loosened her chain. She let out her clutch a bit. He took the strain. Her headlights were smooth. His body was waxed. They turned up the heat, but never relaxed. He pumped up his piston. She brushed her bore. She said, "Burn the rubber." He said, "Shut the door." They cantered, they centered their sensors. She primed up his pump. She serviced his engine. He topped up her sump. They ran out of traction. She twisted her fork. They ran out of action. They ran out of talk. They split differential, shared a long gaze, put away their credentials, and went separate ways. Thank you.
I want to be a mechanic. Next up is Mia E. Mia? Where's Mia? Have you read? Oh, yes, you've read for us before. And she's written this with no errors. Her nasty habit is silently correcting people's grammar. Mia.
Well, I didn't say my nasty habit was being hypocritical, so. Crap. Always hard to find what I want on here. Okay. So I was going to read some different poems, but then I was inspired by all the nasty women poetry. So I decided to read this one, and then maybe a short, one of the other ones I was going to read, which was a love poem. But I didn't think I could read like 3 sweet love poems tonight. So this is Accepting a Drink from a Stranger. I've read this a couple times, but I feel like it's appropriate tonight, and I get less nervous every time I read it. So it's a little bit of therapy too. All right. I guess I bought that second shot with the deed to my body. Being alone and tipsy at a bar makes you a slut. Accepting a drink from a stranger makes you a whore. An implicit transaction. I should know that by now. But the vodka and the beer burned down my barricades. Hot liquor, hot bodies, hot room, the music throbbing, the floor full of dancing bodies bumping like boys on the waves, blood beginning to boil. I guess he liked the way I was dancing. Came up behind me, hands on my hips, started swaying, my head swimming. I should know better by now. He was bulging, breathing on my neck, hand on my breast. Stop! I break away, shaking my head, sneak outside and smoke, sinking into the shame. He's insistent, sees me hiding. Bought me 2 drinks, time to settle up. I cannot raise my eyes to his face. Forgot the features, only felt standing to flee, stopped short, shoved against the splintered siding, mouth on my neck, hand up my skirt, my body pinned, frozen in fear and fury. Fuck! Fuck! I really should know better by now. He thinks he has rented my body for the night, insists upon his rights. Mine must be forfeit, but I want to stay, squat in my own skin. Sorry, I forgot. Can't I just pay you the $30? Some smokers step out, breaking the silence. He turns to look, I run. Deadbolt the door, trembling in the bathroom, retching my remorse, holding back my hair, bare knees knocking on the naked floor. Finally, after what feels like forever, 2 o'clock arrives. I walk out with the waiters, shaking, sobbing, sitting in my car, sink into the seat, submit to sleep. Startle, awake with the sun, and find my way home. Shattered, ashamed, but I know who's to blame because we all should know better by now. All right, and just because it was Valentine's Day yesterday, a short love poem. You carved your name into soft young wood, through the years it changed and grew, yet the very shape of who I am was carved out just for you. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing. There's talk of having a Me Too anthology where that would fit. Next up is Rose Gamble, and her nastiest habit is blurting out true feelings on controversial topics with no consideration of the consequences. Rose.
Okay, so in line with nasty women's sort of time management in our society, I have no time for editing poems, which is my favorite part of writing poetry, because I get to meditate on the whole thing, right, and just really pull it all together. So you're going to hear some kind of sloppy poems, which fits with my nasty habit of blurting things out without any thought or quality control. So let's just blow off quality control. Okay, here we go. All right. Narcissus. I rise up a daffodil in February. Fuck you, winter. You've been a royal bitch to me, and I am so done with you. Goodbye, cold, wind, snow. Oh, you're back. My frozen muck pot contains cruel words, power plays, and so many fear pheromones. I need a diffuser. Jealousies, decomposing actions, and many small sprouts that never took hold of their ground. Pages of books of wisdom were excerpted, nibbled by noble worms who run it through a tiny churn and excrete everything I need. I don't know how you know me. Red worm, nightcrawler, wigglers. And, sorry, it's hard to read here. And your odd friends stretched on the sidewalk, twisting in puddles, so foolish and simple, and you know me best. That is, you provide for me best. When I need and know and am, you need and know and are. Foreknowledge, forgiveness, you give me beforehand. That's giveness. And from this impossible soil, unlikely bereavement, long lessons in love, and aching hunger, I swirl around and sit up. Like when the alarm goes off and movement impossible, the paralyzing never, but I hold on and try. A flush like drugs comes over me. Adrenaline sprinkles my veins. Light dawns in my brain. Unlikely, alive. Dawn, so orange and new. Unlikely resonance. What was dead lives. You clamp me down with no, and I bloom a rebellious yes. This crumpled bulb, hapless worm, sees herself and falls in love. This poem, this microphone bugs me. Anyway, this poem is called Jerk. It all depends on whether he acts like a douchebag, she said. But I ain't wild about that kind of talk. So let's say jerk. Jerk my chain, jerk wad, my flesh jerked in the smokehouse, savored on the trail, on the boat with coffee. I wish this were Steve Martin funnies, But it's a nasty weather report. Warning, watch. Batten those hatches, 'cause the king of lies is descending on this earth, and the flies are swarming. Crack dirt baking. No place to hide from the red laser reader that sees everything. Almost makes Pollyanna forfeit to evil and say it's real. The king of lies chops me, sends me through a grinder, dumps me out, blood mashed with muscle, tendons julienned, done for someone's dinner. Yesteryear, I ate rage flesh. Threw cheese across the room. Could not tell my temp or yours with the touch of a hand. But motherhood taught me some things. You are 3. How to deflect hate. Let acid drops run down the windshield. And what a breath feels like on the other side. The butterfly reaches to snap a synapse. Anything, anything, sheer power of will. She dreams it full of love. She dreams a movement from the slime. Visages a hope crest, hope pillar to come home to. And the warm summer air at sunset, red with drifting dust. Holds her buoyant as she lilts, flapping so uncontrollably cute in the grassy field. Reach deep for nectar. Reach deep for nectar. Hide out quiet on a daisy, swaying a waltz. Smooth, so together. No surprises. Just slide gliding across that dance floor. Smooth as spring.
Thank you, Rose. Our next reader is Bonnie Davidson. Where's Bonnie? Okay. So Bonnie wins the prize for the nastiest habit of the evening. No judgment. It's eating earwax and boogers. Come on, Bonnie.
So I've a fun fact. It's my first time to an open night poetry thing. So hi. I didn't know that there's a theme, but I can kind of spin it into like relationshipy kind of nastiness thing. But if that doesn't work, then I can just get off the stage and not read my poetry. Okay. God, I have like so many. Okay. My first one, I've actually written all my own poetry, so holla back. The first one is called Reflection, and it's kind of based off of bullying and sort of kind of shoving the bullies aside and saying no thanks and, you suck. This was written back in January 22nd of 2011, and so here we go. Reflection. She's seen her reflection. She's seen why her schoolmates laugh whenever they are around her. She's seen how she doesn't fit in. She's known why. She's known she can't make a change to it all, even when it was available. So why didn't she take the chance? He's seen that face that always taunts and sneers at him whenever they meet. It bugs him, annoys him, angers him. But every day he gets to make a difference, to transform it all, but never grabs it. So why didn't he go get the change? She's seen it all, but never differs. He's experienced everything enticing, but never differs, but never strays from the path of same. They figured out that they are one. Reflection. Gonna switch my phone here. My first one is called For the Record, and I wrote this one I had a kind of a high school flam guy that I really liked, and we kind of drifted apart. And I was really into One Direction at the time. And there was a song that really spoke to me that kind of it echoed how we were close at one time, and then we kind of drifted apart. And it helped me to get through kind of our disconnection time. So here is for the record. When I close my eyes, all the stars align, and you are by my side. You are by my side. A disconnected line, feelings turned confused, broken pinky promise, heart left hurting. Back to a half, never whole. In the dark, doubting the weight. Always the silence, back to the question. What happened to us? One thing's for sure, I love you still. Once in a lifetime, you were mine. Second one here is To Wash Away. And this one is based off of the song Unconsolable by Ex-Ambassadors. Great band. Check them out. And it's kind of just about realizing that people do kind of break apart, and life is kind of messy and just moving along. So here's To Wash Away. To wash away simple hope, at a simple hour, at a simple need, to wash away such pleasant lives, with a single glance, for you and me. I realized that time goes by, light shall dance, and people shall move and breathe. I've often wondered if I made a mistake in loving you, in loving me. Please tell me when the moon will rise, when the sun will fall, when the earth will shake, when the mountains will die. I need to know where I stand, who I can be, where I can be. Shall I bite my lip in frustration, in doubt, in fear, in love? Please, let me know, my love. Let me know. And my last poem here is Settling, and it's based off the song Foreigner's God by Hosier. And not only is Hosier is an amazing artist, but he actually based this song, Foreigner's God, with the idea in mind of, kind of in America we have the God and, that kind of one deity kind of mindset. And it's about the idea of going to another country that has other deities and sort of other God mindsets, and having to stay in that country with the idea of different deities in mind, still knowing that, still kind of in that mindset of what you believe, and having to have that frustration, but still having to kind of agree with what's happening where you're visiting. I don't agree, I don't agree, I don't agree, I don't agree. Banging my head against the wall, I don't agree. Useless words and thoughts more and more come in, but I don't agree. Senses overdrive, snarky comebacks, bunching muscles, rolling of heads, calming of rising nerves. I whisper, I don't agree. I scream, I don't agree. I knock over my chair, I slam my fist onto the table, and I punch the wall. I arch my back, clench my fists, and scream into the night. I take a breath, I settle my anger, and I put my chair back. I sit down, cross my ankles, and rest my folded hands in my lap. I say calmly, I don't agree. There we go.
Thank you, Bonnie. Please come back. Next up, we have Sahana Dio, who likes eating jalapenos like they're candy, which sounds good. Is this your first time here? Second time. Sahana Dio, am I saying that right? Welcome.
So I have two quick poems that I want to read. First one is titled, It's Not Okay. So you tell me it's okay if you look at her, but the second she looks at him, you feel an anger rise inside you that threatens your mere existence? You are being ridiculous. So you tell me it's okay for you to sit there, but the second she puts her hands to rest, the ones with calluses you conveniently ignore, you think your hard work deserves an Olympic medal. You are being ridiculous. So you tell me it's okay for him to make comments when she walks by in an outfit she wants for herself, because it's okay if your friend thinks she's an object, and your opinion's above all else. You are being ridiculous. So you tell me it's okay for you to make the decisions for her because the human brain exists only in men. Wait, she knows how to talk? But you say that's useless because she definitely isn't human. So you tell me it's okay for her to forget her family, since relationships with you take precedence over her home, over her sisters, over the life she wanted to create for herself? But she shouldn't create anything but babies, right? So you tell me it's okay for her to ignore her period and stay silent about it, because only your body is a wonder, and hers shouldn't even be considered one. You say challenge accepted? No, wait, let me tell you what's okay. You acknowledging your toxic masculinity and doing something about it. And the second poem, just some quick context. In classical dance, we have different songs that they really describe emotions on various levels. They take folk tales and mythological tales and sort of insert real world experiences into that. So this one is written through the perspective of a classical dancer. Can the one who agreed to meet me be trusted? Can the look in his all-encompassing, star-like eyes convince me? It seems to deceive me like the peacock feather that rests atop his head. I am nothing but a fool to his cunningness. I do not know how his actions reflect his intentions, but if they do, in the way that I have witnessed, then they are drops of cold rain blurring the pool of dreams that is my heart. I've waited. I have flinched at every possible sound, believing it to be part of his haunting melody. What is there to a memory if that too seems like an unattainable dream? Thank you.
Thank you. We have two more readers left. Our next reader is Luisa Rodriguez, and the nastiest habit line is left blank. So obviously, she has no nasty habits at all. Luisa, come on over.
All right, I couldn't think of a nastiest habit until now, so I guess I'll say that I keep a dream journal, and in it every day I write down at least 3 to 5 women who inspire me and why they inspire me. Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a poem that I wrote. In my school, we were studying Millet and Petrarch, so if you're into that, that's kind of what it's inspired by. It's called Serpent. Touch me, I dare you. You beckon me. But you serpent, cowardly serpent, I am no Eve. I am the tree, and I bear the fruit. You dare not touch me, for you know that you will burn. Fool, I took you for a fiend. Fool, 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 you are low. I stretch high. While you slither about the earth, I spread my fruit branches to the sky. Okay. And I brought a book by Yoko Ono. It's called Grapefruit. I think she's super underrated, but she's one of the nastiest women I've ever heard of. And she's so much more than the wife of John Lennon. In my opinion, you should look her up. Okay, I have a couple favorites. Okay, so let's see. Okay, water talk. You are water, I'm water. We're all water and different containers, and that's why it's so easy to meet. Someday we'll evaporate together. But even after the water's gone, we'll probably point out to the containers and say, that's me, that one. We're all container minders. And then here's another one that she wrote. Okay, this one doesn't have a title. Once we were fish, moving freely in the sea. Our bodies were soft and swift, and we had no belongings. Now that we crawled out of the sea, we are dry and full of cravings. We wander city to city, carrying the memory of the sea, but it isn't just a memory. Listen very carefully, and you will hear the sea in your body. You know our blood is seawater, and we are all sea carriers. Okay, and finally, inspired by tonight, A Girl in Sunset. A beautiful thing happened to a girl in Sunset. It was so beautiful she couldn't get over it for a long time. In fact, she's still going around soaked in the same evening light, carrying her orange past. In daytime, she looks like a cutout from a Grand Canyon postcard. At night, she glows. Then she's heard of a guy carrying rain around him. 1968 summer. All right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, batting cleanup tonight is Sarah M.F. Oxford. And maybe Sarah will do a demonstration of her nasty habit for us. I'm not sure. It's what? Oh, okay. But it's burping loudly in public.
I actually once chased a couple out of a restaurant because I was belching so loudly. I didn't realize it at the time, but my girlfriend who was with me at the time pointed it out to me after they left. Okay, so as so many of you this evening, I wasn't quite sure what to read and have been very inspired by the theme. So I kind of, from what I was already kind of considering, picked the ones that seemed best. So this one. There's a book that some of you guys might have heard of, Gifts from the Sea. It's a fairly famous book by some really cool, relatively nasty woman talking about inspiration from seashells, and it's this really great book about, and I haven't actually finished it, but I started it, and it was just about her trying to examine her role as a mother and as a participant in her community and all the roles that women play. And reading it, I realized that I didn't quite connect with, the idea of questioning her role and stuff like that made sense, but the innate sense of connection to the community didn't exactly make sense. And it's all about seashells. So this was my shell. I speak to the darkness. I do not have that innate drive to serve this world. I speak to those who feel forlorn, who feel lost, who question their very existence, who question this life, their purpose, why they are here. Not those who wonder what their purpose is to serve the collective. No, those who wonder why we exist at all, why time continues and they don't cease their awareness. And not those who are running from it. Perhaps they will turn in time and my words will speak to them, but those who are still running, those who don't want to know, those who only want to escape, I don't speak to them either. Those who feel lost, those who find themselves in darkness and find themselves seeking light, I have words and thoughts to share with them. I have glimmers of light to be seen, to be found, to be experienced. I have a stillness, a patience, an understanding of the dark. I am the dark, and I am the light. I can show you the infinite. I am looking for harmony. Together, we can sing. And so for the second one, this one's a short one that was completely just inspired by tonight, and one that someone had said really spoke to her. So, issues with crazy. My issues with the concept of crazy, of someone being crazy, are growing. There's no reason. There's no right. No one has the right to call anyone else crazy. We're only determining how well we feel someone fits in with our idea of acceptable and non-acceptable perspectives and behavior. How predictable are they? If they're entirely unpredictable, well, that's a threat. That's unsafe. That's unhealthy. That's crazy. Or is it really unpredictable? Or simply not the predictable that we or they want? And on a slightly lighter side, and great excuse, because I realize as much as I don't believe in Valentine's Day, yeah, yesterday was Valentine's Day, so this is kind of my little love poem. All things. Greg's face is what the Sarah being knows as love in this world. But they are love in all forms. They are the earth and the dust, the stars and the wind. They dance in molecular orbits of divine, intimate interplay. Their love is the love of the universe, timeless and inextinguishable, formless in its entirety. It cannot be destroyed, for it is all that is. All the things sing of their glory. All the things relish in this dance. Their lives are our lives. Their breath is our breath. We feel our pain and betrayal, our hope and love in each exchange and change and static moment. The differences and unifying similarities. It will take her nearly a day to return to him. Their fleshly breath will move in and out of their lungs, exchanging bodies as they kiss. Their arms will hold the frames of their human forms and pump the energy of their golden spheres through each pore of their fine and delicate skin. Delicate, for it holds such magnificent, intricate constructs of slowed and combined light, so perfectly organized and harmonized to allow a presence of a different sort. A place where the differences combine in differed yet mutually focused intent to feel the loss, to feel the reunion. So close to the reunion. Until then, I will breathe into all the atoms around me and feel our vibration resonate everywhere. He is with me and I with him until once again we are one. Until then, we shall be all things.
Thank you, Sarah, and thank you to all of our open mic readers tonight, and thank you for those who were listening. And of course, thank you to Soul Food Coffee House, especially staying open a little later than we usually end earlier than this. So thank you, Soul Food. And of course, thank you to our nasty women poets. And thank you for reclaiming the term, because I think that's what this is all about. Oh, that I could write like a nasty woman. Good night.
Could I possibly ask everybody to put their chairs back if you borrowed one from a certain spot? Thank you.
could have done.